Okay, hello everyone. This is Ivo from Ibico, and today we are with Flo Broderick, who will join us to talk about when to have a marketing operations team, how to work with an internal or an external marketing operations team, and with that we will see everything that we learned from Flo. So just before giving you time, Flo, to introduce yourself, because you will be the best person to do it, I just would like to say that here at Ibico we've been working with Flo already. It's going to be 6 years more or less. One of the first client with Ibico, when we started like 6 years ago, and before in Carto, now in B7. So super excited to have you first doing this type of videos talking about marketing operations. So welcome, Flo.
Great to be here. Thanks, Ivo.
Cool. So maybe just a quick intro for everyone. Maybe everyone who already is watching this video knows you very well, but just to for the ones who are a little lost.
Yeah, so I'm CMO of a company called V7. We are in the AI space, and we help customers turn images, videos, and documents into trustworthy AI so that they can build AI products for specific problems, whether that's building out new healthcare products to automate the way that we read CT scans, for example, or it could be a massive asset management firm trying to turn tons of confidential information memorandums into structured data to accelerate their deal flow. We're industry agnostic. But I'm based in London and running the marketing and BDR team here.
Cool. And recently you launched a brand new product, right?
We did.
Go B7 Go.
Yes, we branched out in the generative AI space as we saw a lot of demand from our customers for use cases that would use LLMs at scale. And it's very exciting to see how well that's gone at launch.
Yeah, cool. So let's enter in the topic of today in our conversation. So let's start with, let's say, a very broad question, but when is it needed to have a marketing operations team?
So I think the key point when you need to invest in marketing operations is when you have a decent volume of leads. I think in a seed stage startup or pre-product market fit, etc., you probably don't have that much inbound yet. You might be doing more outbound, or at least the amount of inbound you have from your website is pretty small. But once you start to get to a certain scale, you suddenly have a need to optimize the resource that you have around leads. So I would say when you reach a certain point of leads and when you have a team of salespeople and a go-to-market team that really requires some level of efficiency in the way that they are scored, assigned, and how they flow around the business.
Sure, and also it is connected a little bit with the usage of more technologies, right? Because at this moment, also in this level that you're talking, normally you will have a marketing automation tool, a CRM, then other platforms like webinars or maybe data enrichment platforms. So that will require a lot of work of making the data to have like a consistency, right? In this case.
Absolutely. I think every year people are investing more and more in technology. Actually, I would actually say that companies need to invest slightly less in the technology platforms. Like sometimes you see teams that have got way too much tooling, and actually it's better to have a few less tools, use them much better, and get a better ROI out of them. Particularly because so many players are launching new functionality that overlaps with other vendors that it didn't at the point where you bought them. So if you consider a company like Gong, they weren't a sales engagement
Yeah.
platform a few years ago, and now they do sales engagement. And so perhaps you may consider using that instead of some of the other sales engagement platforms out there.
Okay, and maybe and entering a little bit in this part of the technology, what will be the element or the criteria that will tell you that this specific technology is interesting to test or to enter there? Because it's true that now, for example, with the example that you mentioned with Gong and the new feature Gong Engage. We can see it in our clients. There is a lot of movement moving from Chili Piper to Gone. Also, and now with the new features related to booking meetings, etc. There's a lot of movement there. So, what is what you see in a technology to check, okay, this is something that we need to for sure to test, or it's maybe something that, okay, let's keep it for the future and it's not really a priority right now?
So I think it's very easy with these situations to get caught up in feature comparison tables. And some people will see it like that. But I try to step back from all of the tooling and think, okay, is this really going to affect our ability as a team to get to our number? And when I say our
Mm,
number, in the context of marketing, that might be pipeline generation,
mm,
MQLs, contribution, marketing's contribution to revenue. On the BDR side of things, like it will be, are we going to be able to book more outbound meetings with target accounts? Are we going to be able
yeah,
to more quickly generate opportunities? And if it doesn't, lots of people will say, well, it hasn't got this feature, has got this feature, and get stuck
mm,
in those details rather than stepping back and saying, well, some people are just great outbound salespeople without any tooling because their
yeah,
messaging is great. So I think it's important to step back from it. And I think there's a lot to be said for making sure that your salespeople aren't context switching between too many tools. I think if you look at the monitor of a salesperson in the office and you see these like tens of tabs at the top of their Chrome window, and it's like it's a real pain to have to context switch between Gong, HubSpot, in some cases Salesforce, Apollo,
yeah.
LinkedIn, then the company websites of the companies that they're researching, etc. So what I like to try and do is optimize the salesperson's experience so that they can be more efficient and that the tool doesn't cause them problems. And changes do generally cause friction at the beginning, and that's painful for
Mm.
salespeople. So you also need to try and minimize changes and have a clear strategy for their stack.
Okay, and I think in this case it is the role of the operations team. When you have a team dedicated to that, it can be marketing operations, it can be sales operations or revenue operations in some cases, but it will be the role of this team also to first understand the different limitations that we may have with this specific tool, to see if based on the experience or based on a specific analysis, what is the limitations that we can find on this tool, and then what you were saying related to improve the productivity of the sales team or the marketing team in the tools. Sometimes it's too many tools that at the end what we need is just one single platform where we can have everything. We can do our job, our sales job, marketing job, but in one single platform, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I always think that when you're being sold a tool, whatever that tool might be, there's the Instagram and the reality moment. So there's the demo when you jump on with the salesperson. I get super excited about what the technology can do because I'm not a marketing operations person. I'm a generalist marketeer and revenue leader. So then you have the call with the revenue operations team or the marketing operations team, and they are able to identify the reality of like, well, this integration will means that we'll be able to do this, or we wouldn't be able to connect this to this tool. And so I try and always have a good contrast of Instagram versus reality in those buying processes, and having people that are smart enough to see through the demo and ask the right questions during the sales process is so important. And I'm really lucky that I've always worked with great RevOps and marketing ops professionals who can help me do that, because if you're not in the tools day in, day out, you might not spot the things during the buying process. And I've
Yeah,
actually recently I've been asked to do quite a few reference calls with other companies who are considering buying technologies, because it gives you the opportunity to actually hear from a customer what some of the issues might have been and what some of the upside may have been. So yeah, that's typically how I approach it.
cool. Okay, and coming back to the general topic that we were talking before, so we talked already about when to have a marketing operations. We've been working together, even though we were not like inside your team and the company of the company, but how has been to have an external marketing operations team? Is it something that it's easy to do? It's not easy to do. Maybe you can give a little bit of your experience there.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm a big believer that whenever you work with an external agency, contractor, etc., you should make them feel like part of your team. It shouldn't feel like, oh, they're the agency and I'm the customer. It should feel like you're a team in a project. So it certainly always felt that way to me. And it's always scary when you externalize something, and you need to really trust in the people you're externalizing things with. You need to make sure that they've got access to all of the right tooling to be able to be successful. But I think for me, it's never been a problem to externalize marketing operations. And it actually might be that internalizing at times may have caused more problems because, frankly, I think this is an industry where there isn't a load of really, really great talent. It's quite nascent. And people who really have the expertise in the different systems that we use and connecting them and then applying that to business, that's a really difficult profile to find. And in markets like London, New York, San Francisco, very, very expensive to find. So if you can find people that are really, really good at this, and who, the other key points here, who document extremely well and communicate remotely extremely well, then I think it can be a recipe for success because essentially it's also less risk, right? So you go with an agency and you have X amount of months commitment, perhaps. When you're with an employee, you're making a big bet. Yes, they have a probationary period and stuff, but it's much more of a commitment to hire somebody, and it's very expensive in certain locations. So if you know that there's somebody that you've worked with before, they're not going to come full time with you, but they can bring a lot of value and very quickly. Because frankly, in tech SaaS environments, very often you're on a timeline, right? You've got, you've raised X amount of money, you've got lots of competitors, you need to get to market really quickly, and you need to go at speed. That's the other thing, is very often you can much more quickly get going rather than trying to wait 4 or 5 months to find the right person to join your business, which very often it can be the case with these niche roles. So for me, it's been all upside. I'm sure other people, may have struggled with this before, but it's about, if you really trust that agency, they communicate well, they document well, then it's a recipe for success.
Sure, and I think you touch one very important point is also to understand how this agency works and how your team works and make these two ways of working to match, right? To really make that both teams at the end are aligned to the same goal. It's something that I had a few months ago a conversation with a potential client. Is they ask us, okay, what is your Pardot package? Like if it will be like, okay, create 3 landing pages, create 5 forms, etc., etc. And I was saying like, no, but we don't do that. We are going to adapt to what you need. What is the what you maybe this month you don't need to do 5 forms. Maybe you need to create a series of nurturing programs, or etc. So that is something that I'm surprised that I mean, for I understand that for some companies it's necessary, but I think it is necessary to really adapt to what you are focusing in this moment. For us, for example, it is necessary to do a kind of replanning every quarter, because also the type of companies that we work with, scale ups, they evolve super fast. They move super fast, so it's not super easy to say, okay, let's do this plan for 1 year, because at the end, maybe something that we started at the beginning of the year, it doesn't work at the end, right?
Totally. I think investing the time in the discovery up front and really understanding the business, the customers, the ecosystem in which they operate. Because it's true that sometimes in operations roles, you can find people who are amazing with all of the tooling and stuff, but they maybe don't go that extra mile to understand how's the sales team set up, what product do they sell, who are the customers, ICP, all of that in detail. So I think investing the time up front to really get to know that, doing a proper kickoff meeting where you get into the details on all of this is so important so that it works for the business. And then I think in terms of the communication, I completely agree with you on the whole package thing versus, it's easy for people to think, okay, this is a playbook, here's my package, it's this standard, but it needs to be flexible. I completely agree. And also the communication is key to me. So working with Aviquo, the way that you guys use project management tooling and Loom and Slack, it just feels like a very seamless integration in the way that we work, Notion as well. So the kind of operating system works very well, particularly because our company is distributed as well. Our team is distributed in different countries. People wake up at different times, log off at different times. And that's extremely valuable to us.
And talking about this remote way of working, I guess everything changed with COVID, etc. But do you see now that I know that you are in contact with several companies in several places of the world? So, do you see more and more this type of structure of people working from several places, not necessarily everyone in the office, or do you see, or do you think we are coming back to the previous pre-COVID moment where it was needed to be in the office? What would you say, especially in the marketing world? What do you say is the trend right now?
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get back to pre-COVID, and I think that's great for everybody. I think what's happening in the market is people are being forced to be more clear about how they define themselves as a company. Like, is this a 4 day in the week office job? Is it hybrid remote? Is it remote? Like, people really want you to be very clear from the beginning about what kind of opportunity you're offering to your talent. Um,
Hmm.
and I think everybody's at a different place on the spectrum. Like, I personally love going into the office 4 days a week, but it's also true that I live quite centrally, so my commute isn't awful. If I was living outside of London and having to do train plus tube, then I might feel very differently about that. Um, so I think it really depends on the person, but I think the most important thing is that companies are clear in defining themselves, honest and upfront with employees about what the opportunity is, and then you go around that. But I think certainly for the engineering and technical sides of businesses, that's completely different. Like those profiles are maybe not the same as go-to-market profiles, where there's a ton of benefit to me being sat beside the SDRs and the account executives and hearing the objection handling that they're doing and hearing how they're talking to customers, even though we've got Gong. It's still highly beneficial, and also building relationships, understanding people at a personal level. I love that part of the job. But for other roles where they literally need to put on headphones and listen to white noise to be able to efficiently code and do what they need to do, like, I can totally understand that they don't want to be in an office. So I think you have to,
Yeah.
there's benefit for them to also have the exposure to the go-to-market side, particularly in product teams. But I think, yeah, you just need to be clear about what you want to be as a business.
Yeah, for sure. No, I was thinking also about this point that you mentioned, that sometimes it's super expensive or super difficult to find good talent. And this is something that with this evolution of remote work, for example, at Ibico, we are 100% remote. And it's true that we have people, for example, that were living in Madrid and then they decide to go a smaller place in Spain because they feel more happy in a smaller place. So I mean, this flexibility is something interesting. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about projects. Which type of projects would you say a marketing operations team could help you as a marketer to achieve, or which type of goals, let's say more than projects, a marketing operations team can help you to achieve as a marketer?
So I think the main areas where I found it really helpful to engage with a marketing operations agency in the past has been around lead scoring, lead assignment, um, those areas as well, and conversion rate optimization is another one in the past. But I think um, if you can do lead scoring and lead assignment really well, you can increase your speed to lead. You can give a much better experience to the customer. It's certainly been a really big and impactful project in both companies I've worked in. So I can give an example. Because we've implemented lead scoring, we're now, and we also want to ramp up the amount of outbound that we're doing to target accounts. Something we can now do is route our top tier leads directly to account executives, so that, that I think that the buyers are really fed up with this whole, I need to speak to an SDR, then an AE, and then finally a solutions engineer comes to the call, and then that's taken weeks. It doesn't make sense for the customer. It doesn't make sense for us because we want to try and accelerate the sales cycle. So if you can use lead scoring and automation to skip some of those steps, then that's very powerful for the business, like very, very powerful. Um, the other thing has been around PQLs. So if you have a PLG motion and you've got lots of people free trialing your product, being able to take that data on how somebody's interacting with the product and turn that into scoring to understand someone's propensity to convert or to buy, it's also very powerful, because sometimes, as much as companies think they know their ICP and where they should focus, sometimes there are things that are outside of ICP and therefore might not have been picked up on in the lead scoring, because lead scoring is never perfect. And I always set expectations that lead scoring will never be perfect.
Yeah.
You can tweak it to make it better and better and fine tune it. But frankly, sometimes somebody can come in and get a ton of value out of your product, and the best way to pick up on that is the product metrics. And so it's very important that that doesn't stay in some kind of dashboard that the product team look at, and instead it flows into a lead scoring and grading approach that can be used by the go-to-market team. So I think those have been some of the most powerful projects we've been working on. And for example, stitching together all this technology to speed up the sales cycle as well. So maybe that's like using calendar scheduling to automatically make sure that the right type of leads can book straight into the diary of their account manager of that account, or the rep that looks after that target account.
Mm.
But I think the opportunities are endless, and I think very often it's big overarching projects, and it's constant fine tuning to align with the business strategy and with the size of the team, the scope of the team that you have in sales.
Yeah, no, and this point that you mentioned regarding the PQLs and try to gather all the, or not all, but the relevant activity from the product, especially when you have a free trial, is something that we see more and more marketers, because product was always using this data, but now marketers are trying to take advantage of this information to send notifications to the sales team, to maybe use as part of the qualification process, even to push notifications or on messages to the users. It's super interesting, and I think it is super powerful, and that also helps. I think helps marketers understand more and more how the product is used. Maybe sometimes we launch a feature and it looks super cool, we sell it super cool, but then nobody's using it. So it's something interesting to understand why, to see, okay, maybe we are not communicating that much about this feature, for example, or something like this. So super interesting, this part. Cool.
Yeah, and I think that trend is only going to continue because more and more companies want to try and start with PLG and grow through PLG, because every company is being pushed to be more efficient in
Yeah,
VC world. And a very good way to be efficient is to not have such a large sales team and to use more automation and to have more of a PLG motion. So I think you're only going to see more and more demand for that.
cool, cool, cool. Okay, cool. So we are almost finishing our conversation. Super interesting, Flo. Thank you very much. But before you leave, I have a question for you. So everyone can know you a little bit more. So, what would be your ideal job if you were not a marketer? Nothing related with our topic, but
Yeah.
only to know you more.
I think if I wasn't a marketer, I would do two things together. I
Okay.
would be a food critic of restaurants. I absolutely love different types of food and eating out. So I would love to just go around restaurants, not just in the UK, but around the world, because restaurants
Yeah.
are, I have to say, I prefer restaurants in Spain. Sorry, UK. But at the same time, I would also become fit enough to be a spinning instructor, because if I were a food critic and I was eating all of that food, then I would need to burn the calories somehow, because that becomes more and more relevant every year. So I would do those two things in tandem: a couple of spin classes in the morning, big lunch, a couple in the afternoon, and then a lovely dinner out.
Wow, wow, wow. You will finish the day completely dead, but happy at the same time.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much, Flo. It's been wonderful to have you here and to learn also from you, and looking forward for a future conversation.
Awesome. Speak to you soon, Evo.
Thank you.